This is a mysterious story of a young couple's murder in the summer of 1976. For 44 years, the young man and woman were referred to as Jock and Jane Doe, Sumter County Does, as their identities could not be established. During the investigation, glaring mistakes were made. One of the most notorious serial killers in the United States was also considered a suspect. Sumter County, South Carolina, August 9, 1976. At 6:20 a.m., local trucker Martin Durand discovered two bodies near the dirt road Locklear Road, close to the Interstate Highway Y-95. He reported his finding to a nearby store owner, Charles Graham, who called the police. Detectives who arrived at the scene found the bodies of a young woman and man lying in the grass. Both had been shot. Soon after, they found a witness, a local hermit who lived in the nearby bushes. As far as the authorities could understand, he saw the couple alive when someone unloaded them from a car, and then shots were fired, and the car, skidding away, drove onto the highway and disappeared. The witness could not say whether it was a carjacking of the young couple's vehicle, or on the contrary, the car owner got rid of the hitchhikers. There were multiple gunshot wounds in each of the bodies. However, as determined by the coroners, the fatal shots were the ones to the victims' necks. They had been killed less than 24 hours before they were discovered. The man was over 6 feet tall and weighed around 150 pounds. He had brown hair and brown eyes. His appearance was described in the report as European, but with olive-toned skin. It was suggested that he may have been a tourist from Europe. 3 scars were found on his body, 1 4-inch scar from an appendix removal surgery, and 2 2-inch scars on his right shoulder. Investigators speculated that he may have been involved in a contact sport where he sustained these injuries. A dental chart was created for the deceased, which showed that he had undergone multiple significant dental procedures, and some teeth were missing, but it was only noticeable on the upper left side. Initially, his age was determined to be older than 27 years, but later the range was established to be between 18 and 30 years old. He was wearing faded blue Levi's jeans, a red t-shirt with the logo of Coors America Light Beer on the front, and Camel Challenger GT Sebring 75 on the back. This t-shirt was produced in 1975 and sold only during the Sebring race in Florida, sponsored by the Coors beer manufacturer. The man was not wearing any underwear. He was wearing expensive Bulova Accutron wristwatch made of yellow gold with a serial number H918803 on his left wrist. These watches were manufactured in 1968. However, shortly after that, the company underwent significant downsizing, and many documents were destroyed, so it was impossible to determine where these specific watches were sold. The deceased also wore a 14-karat gold ring with a gray star-shaped synthetic stone on his finger, and the initials JPF were engraved on the inside. In his pants pocket, detectives found a box of Grant's truck stop matches, which could only be purchased at truck stops in the Midwest states of Idaho, Nebraska, and Arizona. The woman was 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed between 100 and 105 pounds. She had medium-length chestnut hair, and her eye color was determined to be gray-blue, blue-green, or brown. She had 2 small moles on her left cheek and another one on the right side of her face. A noticeable mole was also found on the back of her leg. Her ears were pierced, and her teeth were straight. There were no signs of surgical interventions, and she had not given birth. Detectives noted her attractiveness and her natural very long eyelashes. Her legs were unshaven, and like her male companion, she was not wearing any underwear. The woman was wearing cut-off blue jean shorts, a pink top with ties in the front, and an off-white muslin blouse. A scarf with a floral print was used as a belt. She was wearing stride-right sandals with pale lilac, pink, and purple straps. The woman was wearing 3 unusual handmade sterling silver rings on her fingers that resembled jewelry made by Native Americans or Mexicans. It is unknown how common their production was, but it is still possible to buy identical ones from retro vintage dealers. Her age was determined to be between 18 and 25 years old. No money was found on the young couple, but they were impeccably clean and well-groomed. Given their good dental care, investigators believed that they could have come from affluent families. The possibility that they were siblings, tourists from Europe, was not ruled out due to their physical resemblance. The town near which the unfortunate couple was killed was Lynchburg, which had a population of only 318 people. It is quite well known in the United States due to the historic plantation house called Tanglewood located there. A year after the bodies were discovered, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places in the country. It is possible that the murdered couple was traveling to visit this place, among other things. Interpol was involved in the investigation of this case, and investigators from U.S. Customs and Immigration were also notified. Contacts were established with agencies in Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, and the Mediterranean. The fingerprints of both victims were taken, but no matches were found in the databases. Autopsies revealed that the young couple had eaten fruit or ice cream with fruit shortly before their deaths, leading investigators to believe that they likely bought food at a local snack bar or store. A witness recalled seeing a couple matching the description of the victims at a fruit stand near the location where the bodies were found, but the witness could not say whether they were with anyone else or were traveling in a car themselves. A few months after the murder, an employee of a nearby KOA camping site located in the resort town of Santee, South Carolina, contacted authorities, claiming to have befriended the deceased man who introduced himself as Jock. Detectives took the call seriously, as the camping site was only 50 miles away from where the bodies were found. Jock and his young companion spent a few days camping, and then they went to Florida. On their way back, they stopped at the same place again. Jock and the camping employee became friends. Once during a game of billiards, Jock told his new acquaintance that he was the son of a famous doctor in Canada who disowned him for refusing to pursue a medical career. As a result, Jock took a kind of vacation, aimlessly traveling throughout the USA. In connection with this, investigators assumed that the man's name was probably French, Jacques. Before leaving, he tried to pawn an expensive ring to the employee, which was very similar to the one found on the deceased. A witness was also found who claimed to have repaired the car of this couple in Nebraska, which was one of the 3 states where the matches found on Jock were sold. The car's license plate was either from Oregon or Washington. However, this lead did not result in any breakthroughs. The bodies of the couple were stored in a local funeral home in sealed caskets with transparent lids in the hope that someone would identify them. People from all over the country called to inquire about them. However, no one was able to identify their relatives among the deceased. The bodies were available for identification for 1 year and 5 days, but it was decided to bury them. On August 14, 1977, the unknown individuals were buried at the United Methodist Church Cemetery in Oswego, South Carolina. Hundreds of people attended the funeral. Local Sheriff Ira Parnell personally arranged the burial, raising several $100s to pay for the funeral home services. The headstones were marked Unknown Male and Unknown Female. In December 1977, police stopped a man for drunk driving in Latta, South Carolina. During a search of his car, they found a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum revolver with the serial number filed off, which matched the type of weapon used to kill the young couple. Ballistics experts confirmed that the gun was the murder weapon. The owner of the gun was Lonnie George Henry from Wadesboro, North Carolina. It turned out that the gun was a birthday present from his brother, and at the time, the serial number was still on the gun. Both men denied their involvement in the murders. Detectives were able to trace the gun's path and found that before it ended up with Henry's relative, it had been stolen by a gang. On the night of August 9th, when the murders most likely occurred, Lonnie George was driving to the hospital to visit his wife, so he couldn't have killed anyone, as he claimed. However, the results of the polygraph test on his statements were inconclusive. The man did not lie about involvement in the murders, but was dishonest in matters related to the gun. So in the end, the police considered that they didn't have enough evidence to press charges against either of the brothers. Also, owning a gun without a serial number wasn't considered a crime in that area in 1977. Henry died 5 years later in 1982 at the age of 64, and the gun, which was an important piece of evidence in the case, was lost by the police. Another suspect in the murder of the couple was the infamous serial killer Henry Lee Lucas, who claimed that he was in Sumter County on the day of the killings. In addition, he confessed to killing an elderly woman in the same county in 1975 and a young man in 1983. However, Lucas was known for making numerous false confessions, so his words were not taken at face value. Moreover, no evidence was found to link him to the case. Lucas died in prison in 2001 and was never charged with these murders. For many years, the police and Sheriff Parnell himself, until his death, tried to unravel this case and give the victims their identities back. However, all attempts to find any matches in databases yielded no results. Only 30 years after their burial, in 2007, the bodies were exhumed and the laboratory was able to study the DNA material of the victims. It turned out that they were not siblings, but that was all progress in the case. Only in 2019, the private investigator and volunteer Matthew McDaniel, who had been working on the case for several years, decided to contact the DNA Doe Project, an organization dedicated to identifying victims of crimes. In the end, $2,300 was raised to conduct a modern, in-depth analysis of the DNA material, in which several hundred markers were studied instead of just a few dozen. With the help of the GEDmatch genealogical database, this method allows for the establishment of kinship even between people with only a 1% match. On January 21, 2021, during a specially convened press conference, it was announced that the Sumter County Does had been identified. Jane Doe turned out to be Pamela Mae Buckley-Kennell, a native of Redwood County, Minnesota. The last time she was seen was in December 1975 in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where she lived with her husband, musician Gary Clifford Kennell. They were divorced after her disappearance. Prior to her marriage in 1972, Pamela was a member of a fairly popular folk trio called Sundlanding, which toured and performed not only in the U.S., but also in Mexican bars, where she may have bought her distinctive rings. In the year of Pamela's death, her father, Robert John Buckley, opened a private daycare center, where her sister Laura also worked. It was there that she met her future husband Danny, with whom she spent her entire life until her death on January 29, 2021, just 8 days after the press conference that revealed the fate of her sister. In addition to Laura, Pamela had brothers Tom and David, and sister Julie. Pamela's parents never learned anything about their missing daughter. Her father passed away in 2008, and her mother, Shirley May, in 2012. Jock turned out to be 29-year-old James Paul Freund, born in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. His father, Adam Wendelin Freund, like his mother Lolietta, had German roots and was a veteran of World War II, where he served in the medical corps. However, unlike his son's stories, he worked not as a doctor, but as a car salesman in the Groff Family Corporation, and before that, worked in advertising. He died in 1966 at the age of 49 from a heart attack. In school, James was actively involved in sports, playing American football and baseball. It was likely during this time that he received his scars, as investigators had suspected. After finishing school, he married Sherilyn Albright, and they had a daughter. Soon after, James went to serve at a U.S. Army base in Germany, where he received the news of his father's death. The expensive watch that James wore turned out not to be a sign of his family's wealth, as previously thought. It was actually a gift from his father-in-law, who had worked 44 years for the company Bulova, which produced the watch. Despite James's marriage lasting until 1975, he was charged in 1974 for not providing financial support for his child born out of wedlock. The charges were dropped when he agreed to pay alimony. He was last seen on Christmas Day, December 25, 1975, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. In 1985, his ex-wife had to petition the court, and, on the second attempt, James was declared dead. James's mother never found out what happened to her son and passed away in 2004 at the age of 77.